visualizing light and color shifts. Now, not only do I want you to visualize and predict what happens when you change your ambient light exposure as well as your flash exposure and that ambient to flash mix, I want you to also visualize what is going to happen when you do white balance shifts and you modify colors on your flash. Because, well, it only leads to awesomeness. We demonstrated this effect back in Lighting 101 when we shot Jill on the beach, and we're going to do it again here, but this time with off-camera flash. Why? Because this effect is one that's going to absolutely wow your clients. We get asked this question all the time. How are your backgrounds so blue? They usually don't say it like that. I just say it like that. I don't know why, because I think it sounds awesome. Our clients ask that, photographers ask that, and we always hear this right afterwards. How do you get your background so blue? And then they go, it's Photoshop, isn't it? And then we say, no, it's not Photoshop. I love Photoshop, but it's not Photoshop. That's done in camera via lighting techniques. And they go, what? I don't believe you. I don't know why I keep taking that voice on whenever I talk about my clients like that. I don't know. Either way, they don't believe you. And then when you show them on set, when you show them a shot, and I always do this shot just to show them, hey, this is what you see with your eyes, and this is what I just created. I always do that before and after on set because I want to show them that. And I show them, I go, and this is what I say. This is what another photographer would have shot. But this is what I created. And then they're like, what? We hired the right guy. You're so awesome and you're amazing. And they all these praised, and I just kind of like soak it up like a sponge. Yes, yes, give it to me, give it to me. And I just agree with them through that. I'm just kidding. I don't really do that. I just say, I'm glad you guys dig it. Let's keep moving. Be humble, people. I'm just kidding. Show it off. Show it off all the time. Okay, so back to this shot. So we're shooting on an actual couple session. We're in front of the Walt Disney Concert Hall here. And you can see that the ambient light is fairly dark, right? We're shooting around dusk. The sun is set. Our sky is still fairly bright. We have 1/100 of a second here at f2 and ISO 1600. So we still have enough light in the sky that we could shoot natural light if we wanted to. But it's that perfect time where a single modified pocket strobe really shines. All we need is one pocket strobe. We need one modifier, like, for example, my favorite one for a single strobe modification is the Westcott Rapid Box. Easy to set up, beautiful little octabox, and it's very portable, very light, easy to use. Okay, so we have that on there, but this shot is just ambient light only. Again, I shoot this shot at a regular white balance. Everything is just exposed normally as we would, just exposed for skin tone. This is my pre-shot that I want to show my clients. Now, for the compositional components and my attributes, well, what I want in this shot is I want these leading lines of the downtown Disney Concert Hall to basically lead into the couple, and I've placed them right over where this curvature and kind of everything is here. So kind of everything leads into them, and the most busy area of the frame is just highlighting them in the shot. Cool, but I want to do a couple things. I want to create background separation by blurring, but not to the point where we don't notice what's in the background. I don't want to blur to the point where it doesn't look like a building. I just want a little bit of blur. So we go to f2. We also need a little bit of light here. So we go f2, a larger aperture gives us a good amount of light. It maintains background detail while also giving us a good separation. With sync, we're in low light, people. We don't need to worry about sync. Less than 1/200 of a second, we're solid. So no ND, no HSS necessary. Ambient light exposure. We pull down the ambient light here. Now, again, visualize what happens if we darken that shot and move to a darker background, okay? So this is actually the exact same shot. So this is, I want you to visualize just what happens between 6,000 degrees Kelvin versus 3,700 degrees Kelvin in camera, okay? That is the shift there. So you can see that's pretty dramatic already. Now let's take that a step further, and we're going to darken this down just a bit. So we get our correct ambient exposure right around 1/60th f2 and ISO 400, okay? For the light direction and quality, well, we already know that we're shooting with the Octabox with a single Phottix Mitros on that guy. Why? Because it's simple, it's easy, it's convenient, it's the ideal kind of light setup for dusk and evening and indoors and that kind of stuff. The Rapid Box also gives us a nice diffused light. So with that diffusion on the outside of it, we can place that close to the subject and get a beautiful wrapping light. Very soft, very nice. Very soft, very nice. I feel like, I don't know why I said that. As far as the light direction, once again, we place it up top, camera left, coming top down towards the girl's side of the face because we want to fill the female subject's face while leaving the guy's face a little bit in the shadow. Okay, so the test shot. This is our test shot with the strobe, and basically I don't quite have the right ambient to flash balance in this shot. My flash is a little bit too bright, my ambient is a little bit too bright. This was at 1/100 of a second at f2 and 1600. It's that same exposure from this shot basically, just we're like maybe 1-2 minutes later on. But what do we end up noticing is that we have our Photex Metros, we've placed our CTO gel on it because again, remember white balance, right? We took a test shot right here and we saw that they're gonna be very, very, very blue. So to fix that, we add the gel to our flash. We put that inside of our Rabbit box and now we get a nice warm light on them. The only problem now is that they're too bright. We're at 1/2 to 1/4 power. I want a little bit darker, a little bit more moody of a background type shot. So I'm gonna pull down the background a little bit and I want just a little bit more, a little bit less flash power. So let's take a look here. So we went basically to 1/60th of a second, f2 and ISO 400. So we dropped the ISO by 2 stops, but then we also dropped the light, or actually we increased the amount of light by about 3/4 of a stop, right? So not quite 1 stop, but close to 1 stop. So we end up with a 1 stop darker background overall. We bring the flash power to 1/4 to 1/8 just to kind of balance it out a little bit better. We've lowered our ISO so that it automatically brings the flash power down as well. So we don't really need to make too big of a shift here. Most likely we probably held it around 1/4 power there. Okay, so now we have at least the flash to ambient balance that I want, okay? Stylistically, if this is what you want, go for it. But for me, stylistically, I like this look, and that's why I kind of like, you know, X'd off the other ones. So our very first shot, we then show them this one, and then we show them this one. And we go, see, look how awesome we are. And they go, yes, you are. These 2 shots were for you guys, okay? So that you guys can visualize and see what that shift does with the exact same shot between 6,000 and 3,700 degrees Kelvin. And then we went down to, for the final shot, yeah, we're at 3,700 degrees Kelvin. This shot, again, we're showing you, we wanted you to see basically how cool they are here, and with the CTO gel added to the flash, how we can warm them up and balance them out. Remember that generally, when we are using fill light as, or basically when we're using ambient light as fill, in addition to our flash, we need to match ambient light. But guess what we're doing here? We're not using it as fill. We're overpowering ambient light for this shot, which means that we don't need to match that color balance, right? Here, they're really dark. We don't need to, we don't need to match that because it's going to be very, very blue. We want to override the existing light with our flash in this kind of an instance. So to make it look right, you just need to make sure that you actually do overpower existing light. Otherwise, you end up with mixed light. Okay, so our final shot, we have our Photex Metros Plus with the CTO gel, the Westcott Rabbit box with diffuser around 1/4 power. We're at 1/60 of a second, f2, ISO 400, 3,700 degrees Kelvin on our Sigma 35mm art. We have the couple leaning back slightly in the photo, so they're leaning back. And then again, when we're shooting bottom up, our tip is to remember to lean them from the hip into the camera, okay? So we're correcting that perspective. Okay, so if they're like this and you're shooting bottom up like that, you have them lean from the hip just to correct that distortion. But they're also leaning back a little bit. So he's kind of giving her a little dip while they also lean into the camera. So we get a nice little perspective fix as well as that kind of cool look of her leaning back just a little bit. That's it for this tutorial. Hopefully this all made sense to you and how to kind of visualize how you can move from this shot to this shot in the span of just a couple minutes in a scene that looks nothing like this and end up with this shot that you can wow your clients with. Let's go on to the next video.